Hey, my friends, it's Miss Nichols. I miss you so much, but I'm super excited to have you here in my little home studio so we can work on some art together, and we're going to be working on some art projects each week. This week, we're going to be doing a project about one of my favorite books and one of my son's favorite books, and it's called Grumpy Monkey. And I think that this book is just really fun because the illustrations are quite beautiful and the characters are really funny, and it's just a great story. So we're just gonna dive right in with this book, and then we're gonna work on a little art project inspired by this book, okay? So this is Grumpy Monkey. It's written by Suzanne Lang and it's illustrated by Max Lang. One wonderful day, Chimpanzee woke to discover that nothing was right. The sun was too bright, the sky was too blue, and the bananas were too sweet. Jim was confused. What's going on? Maybe you're grumpy, suggested Norman from next door. I'm not grumpy, Jim insisted. On his walk, he met Marabou. Jim's grumpy, Norman told Marabou. Why are you grumpy, Jim? Asked Marabou. It's such a wonderful day. Grumpy? Me? I'm not grumpy, said Jim. But look at how you're standing, Marabou said. It's true, said Norman. You're all hunched. So Jim loosened up. Then he ran into Lemur. Jim's grumpy, Norman told Lemur. Why are you grumpy, Jim? Asked Lemur. It's such a wonderful day. Grumpy? Me? I'm not grumpy, said Jim. Your eyebrows look grumpy, said Lemur. It's true, said Norman. They're all bunched up. So Jim raised his brow. Then he tripped over Snake. Oh no, said Norman. That's the last thing you need when you're feeling so grumpy. Grumpy? Me? I'm not grumpy, said Jim. Then why that frown? Asked Snake. I think it's because he tripped over you, Norman said to Snake. So Jim put on a smile. Finally, Jim looked happy. But he didn't feel happy inside. Everyone wanted Jim to enjoy this wonderful day. You should sing with us, said the birds. Jim didn't feel like singing. You should swing with us, said the monkeys. Jim didn't feel like swinging. You should roll with us, said the zebras. Jim didn't feel like rolling. You should stroll with us, said the peacocks. Jim didn't feel like strolling. You should lie in the grass. You should stomp your feet. You should take a bath and make a splash. You should hug someone. You should laugh. You should take a nap. You should eat old meat or some honey. You should jump up and down. You should sit in the sun. You should dance. But Jim didn't feel like doing any of that. Why are you grumpy, Jim? Asked the others. It's such a wonderful day. I'm not grumpy, shouted Jim as he beat his chest. And he stormed off. Jim felt sorry. A little sorry for shouting at everyone, but mostly sorry for himself. I guess I am grumpy, Jim sighed. And just as he was starting to feel really sad, he came upon Norman. Norman was slumped. His eyebrows were bunched up and he was frowning. What's the matter? Are you grumpy? Asked Jim. No, I danced with Porcupine, said Norman. Are you okay? Asked Jim. It hurts, but I'll probably feel better soon enough, said Norman. Are you still grumpy? Yes, said Jim, but I'll probably feel better soon enough too. For now, I need to be grumpy. It's a wonderful day to be grumpy, said Norman. Jim agreed. And he already felt a little better. And I think this is a great book for us to think about right now with kind of this uncertain time that we have going on. That it's okay if you feel a little grumpy or you feel a little confused or a little sad or maybe even a little bored, okay? You don't have to just slap on a happy face simply because everybody thinks you should. It's okay for you to feel the way you feel. And, you know, sometimes I certainly feel a little bit like Jim Pansy, and then other days I feel really happy, and that's okay. You need to feel the way that you feel. So what we're going to do next is we are going to work on creating our own piece of art of Jim Pansy. And I'm going to show you different ways that we can kind of, maybe this face is a little grumpy, but maybe the one I draw today will be a little bit happier. All you're going to need for this project is a piece of paper. I'm using white paper, but if all you have is notebook paper, that's totally fine. And you're going to need a pencil and some crayons. If you have some washable markers and a paintbrush, that's cool. And if you don't, that's fine also. Okay, so go ahead and grab your supplies and we're going to get started working on this drawing. Okay, for drawing Jim Pansy, all you need is one piece of paper. I am going to draw with a black crayon. If you would like, you may draw with a pencil first so that you can erase, and then you can outline later with a crayon. But I'm just going to go straight for it with a crayon. Now, the part that we're going to draw from the book is going to be this very first scene when we first meet Jim, and he's hanging out in a tree looking a little grumpy, if you will. Okay, so we're going to draw this little image right here. The first thing you're going to do is you're going to take your paper and you're going to turn it horizontal. Okay, so that's across like this, not straight up and down, horizontal like this. And you're going to find the middle of your paper by touching either edge, sliding your fingers together right there where they hit in the middle. You're going to draw the number 3. Okay? And then you're going to turn your paper back vertical. The next thing you're going to do is you're going to draw a curved line around and like that. Okay? And then we're going to draw a circle. And that circle is not going to touch this first part we've drawn. Slowly come around. Certainly does not have to be a perfect circle by any means. This is going to be his little face. Okay? The next thing you're going to do is you're going to draw a curve here. It's almost a circle, right? But it starts here and curves around and stops right there. Scoot over. Same thing right here. There you go. Now we're going to add a little swirl inside there, and that's going to make it look a little bit more like his ears. There we go. Okay, that's going to be Jim's little head. Now, we're going to start right down here towards kind of the bottom of this circle, and we're going to draw another circle right up to there. Okay? Now, we're going to come beneath this circle to the bottom of our paper, and we're going to draw the letter C. Then we're going to do 2 little curves at the edges of the C, and then we're going to draw a smaller C inside of that one. These are going to be Jim's little feet. Now draw a backward C. 2 little lines and another C. Now to add his legs are going to be kind of this little shape right here, kind of like a pointed corner. So I'm going to start at this C, come up and turn. And then the same thing, up and turn. And there's one of his legs and his little foot. Right here, up and turn. Like that. There's his little feet. Okay? Now, we need to draw this log or this tree branch that Jim is hanging from. You don't want it to be perfectly straight across, right? Branches are kind of wavy and wonky. So I'm going to come right across here and I'm just going to go bloop, 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 bloop. Almost like you would draw water or something. You want it to be kind of bumpy. And then I'm going to come down just a little ways. And I'm going to do the same thing. But this time I'm going to give it like a little piece of a branch hanging off right there and coming over. Okay? Now, we're going to draw, remember Jim, if this is the branch, Jim's little paw is coming over, or his little hand is coming over like this, right? So that's what we're going to draw. So we're going to come right up here to the top line. So not this bottom one, but the top one. And we're going to go 1, 2, 3. almost looks kind of like some little boom, 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 boom. Almost looks like the number 3, but with an added curve. Do the same thing right here. 1, 2, 3. So those are that's his paw hanging over the edge. So if we come behind this, then we're going to do 2 vertical lines. Come over to this paw and 2 vertical lines. See? So now you see his little paw is coming up and around the branch like that. Okay? Now, if you want to add some lines and some kind of swirls to the branch, you totally can. You don't have to, but I love adding some details. It's fun, right? There we go. Now, here is where you have to decide, how does your monkey feel? Okay, so I have some extra little faces right over here. Does your monkey feel happy? Does your monkey feel surprised? Is he grumpy? What is your monkey sad? How do you feel today? I'm going to do this happy one right here. Okay, so my first drawing was a grumpy little monkey, but this one's going to be a little bit happier. Okay, I'm going to leave this right up here. So to do a happy monkey, I'm going to come in here, do a little curve and a curve. If I'm going a little too fast with this video, make sure you just hit pause, and that way you can catch up to what it is I'm doing. Okay, so I'm going to add some little happy eyelashes right here, some curves. I'm going to add some little nostrils. And then I'm going to go boom, boom. Almost looks like that 3 again, doesn't it? It keeps showing up. And then I'm going to curve down like this. And a curve. And there's my happy monkey. Ooh, he's so happy. That was a happy monkey. Now, I want my monkey to look furry. So the way that I can make that monkey look furry is I'm going to start to add some little lines like this. Okay, so I'm just doing some lines coming out. My monkey's got some crazy fur. Look at that. Super funky little silly little monkey. Okay, your monkey doesn't have to have this much fur if you don't want to. It's totally up to you. This is your piece of artwork. Okay, then I'm gonna add some more fur around here. And I'm just drawing basically little just dashes with my crayon. Maybe I want to add a little bit more fur on the belly. Boop, boop, boop. No perfect or wrong way to do this. Just have fun, all right? Aren't supposed to make you happy. Add some more fur. Okay, and then maybe I'm gonna add a little bit of fur to the legs too. This is a furry monkey. All right, so we have drawn our monkey. Now, we need to add a few things to the background. Remember this area all around and behind what I've got in the foreground, which is this monkey. He's in the foreground. This is the background. So what I'm gonna do for that is kind of give it a jungly kind of vibe. So if we look back in this book, we're actually gonna go to the same page where our original shot of Jim is. Look at all these interesting plants, okay? And it's kind of that number 3 shape again, isn't it? That's crazy. It just keeps popping up. There's some bananas over here. There's some plants that are kind of like some vines hanging down. There's some leaves in a tree. You can decide what kind of leaves you want. Maybe you want your leaves in the background to be super simple. Maybe you want some of these kind of flower looking leaves. It's your picture, so you get to design whatever background you want. And we'll come back to my crayon box, and I'm going to choose my dark green. And I'm going to just start drawing some plants in the background. Now, plants are basically just going to be a bunch of kind of bubbly, curvy lines, aren't they? Remember, these lines right here inside plants, those are called veins. So maybe I'm going to do another kind of jungly looking leaf over here. Gonna go, it stops, see how it stops on either side of the ear? That's because it's going behind his ear. Okay, if you want to draw some more simple leaves, maybe you can just draw a curved line like this, and another curved line. It looks almost like a football. And then there's your straight lines inside. Okay, you want to really fill up this background with your leaves, but notice how I am not coloring in my leaves. If you have some markers, then I'm going to show you another fun thing you can add to your background of your monkey. If you only have crayons, that is totally fine. You can just color your background with crayon. I do love to color with crayon. But if you want to use kind of some markers to make it look more like you painted it, then I will show you how you can do that. I'm just kind of going crazy and adding a bunch of leaves. I want to look like my monkey's really living deep in the jungle. Okay, so I've got my background filled with these leaves. And then to color my monkey, oops, that's not brown. There we go. I want the face a little bit lighter. So I'm going to color the face yellow. So I'm going to take my crayon. I'm just going to start coloring the face yellow. You want to try to take your time. Stay inside those lines. There is no need to rush. Okay? Do your very best. Remember, we don't want to color thin and thirsty. We want our coloring thick and juicy. Thick and juicy. Here we go. Adding some color to our monkey. There we go. And then I'm also going to color the feet yellow, just for fun. All right. And then I've got my brown crayon. And I'm just going to go ahead and color the rest of my monkey brown. Now for this part, make sure you're only coloring in your monkey's little fingers right there. We're gonna use something else different for the tree branch, okay? So make sure when you color his arms, you stop at the branch and then just color these little sections for his little fingers that are holding onto the branch. Okay, now for the branch, I think what I'm gonna do for this part, first of all, I'm gonna turn my paper around so I don't have to reach up to the very top. And I'm just gonna color this in a dark green with my crayon, okay? I don't really want this to look super light. I want it to look really dark like the trunk of a tree branch. Remember, I'm coloring around those paws. Want it to look like you can see his paws and he's holding on to the back of that branch. Okay. Now, if you do not have markers, then for your background, you are just going to color the rest with crayon, which I know will look absolutely wonderful. However, if you have some markers, I'm going to show you a way that you can use your marker to turn into paint for the background. So for that, you're going to need a cup of water, some markers, a paintbrush, and some tin foil. So here's my piece of tin foil. I've also got a dish with some water. Now I'm using a dog dish with my water. That's just so that it doesn't spill and make a big mess. You can just use a cup, or you can also use maybe like a drink lid or something like that. So it doesn't have to be a dog bowl to hold your water, just some kind of vessel to hold the water. And here is how you're gonna create paint using some markers and tin foil. So the first thing you're gonna do is you're gonna take your marker, pop the cap off, and you're gonna just get some tin foil, maybe get some tin foil from your parents. This is actually a recycled piece that I used on some bread, and now I'm reusing it for my surface to create my paint. And I'm gonna take my marker, and I'm gonna just color and color this piece of tin foil. Okay, so I've used this dark green, snap the cap back on. Ooh, I love that sound. Get some more color on my tin foil. I even wanna use a little bit of yellow. Now I'm not letting these colors touch while I'm coloring, so I want them kind of separate. Ooh, there go my markers. Okay, so I've colored part of my tin foil. You need to make sure that you're using washable markers for this, because if you're and usually pretty much all Crayola markers are washable, because what you're gonna do is you're gonna use your paintbrush to wake up this ink and turn it into paint. But if you use like a permanent marker, like a Sharpie or something like that, this will not work. So you have to make sure it's a washable marker. So I've got my tin foil ready. I'm gonna take my wet paintbrush and I'm gonna start adding some water to the marker. And what happens is it turns it into this really fun watercolor paint. Now, since you have taken that time to draw all your leaves in the background, your leaves were drawn with crayons, which are wax. And the wax is gonna kind of repel that water you're using to paint with, so the crayon will show up really beautifully behind this magic paint that you're using. I'm gonna take my time and I'm kind of tracing around the outline of this little monkey. Maybe I wanna add some water to the yellow. Do a little bit of like a lime green. Going all the way to the edge of my paper. You may wanna put a piece of newspaper or another piece of paper under the edge of your paper too, so that whatever surface you're painting on doesn't get messy. And I'm just gonna keep moving that paint around till I have painted the whole background of my little grumpy monkey. Well, this monkey's actually happy. It's not grumpy, is it? Make sure you also want to get that top part above the branch, because that's part of the jungle also. And you don't have to use just this green kind of color in the background. Maybe you want to do your background blue. Maybe he's in front of the sky. Or maybe you want to do just a yellow background. Or what if it's like sunset? You want to use orange and red, and that the color that the sky makes when the sun is setting. This is your picture. Have fun with it. I'm almost done. Now, if you happen to run out of the ink to paint with, and you want to color some more of the tin foil to create some more paint, that is fine. Just don't color in that super wet spot. Maybe flip your tin foil over or find a different spot on your tin foil to color, because you don't want to put that marker right in that wet spot. You'll kind of dry your marker out. Almost done. And there you have it. There is your happy little monkey. I hope you guys had a great time drawing and creating art with me. come back next week and we'll create something. Thank you guys so much for joining me. I hope you enjoyed creating these art lessons. And thank you again for tuning in for this. I also wanted to give you a quick heads up. If you will start saving some recycled supplies that we will be using for future art projects, make sure it's okay with your parents and they understand that you're not just stockpiling trash and that you actually have something you're going to use this stuff for. But the first thing I want you to start saving is going to be pieces of cardboard. Okay, so like this was just a leftover box that I cut out and saved this piece of cardboard. I also want you to please start saving any kind of like cereal boxes, and so they're not as thick as like a pizza cardboard would be. They're a little bit easier to cut, but we'll be using this for a project. So if you have any extra cereal boxes or snack boxes, save those. Also, start saving some toilet paper rolls. We're going to be doing some projects with these. Also, save egg crates if you have them. Save some of these and any small boxes that you might have. This is like a soap box. This is one that had like a food item. So if you have any little boxes like these, start saving these. Maybe set aside a little spot where you can start saving some stuff. You can also save some, this is a paper towel roll, and also some tin foil. So we will eventually be using projects with all these recycled supplies. So if you want to go ahead and start setting them aside now, that would be awesome. Thanks guys. See you next week. Love you, miss you. When you start hitting record, will you just like go so I can, is recording? Oh. Start it over.